How's it going, folks? I do apologise. Consistency has been very lacking recently. But we are back. Now, you might see that we've dug a little bit further into the hillside than where we left it at the end of the last video. I wanted to try and move things on a little bit more so that we weren't just sitting here digging into the hillside for about 4 episodes, however long it's been now. But I was very time limited, things to do and whatever else. So we didn't actually get very far, and then it comes to a point where I haven't had an out of all video out for a while, and I was like, I need to do something. I need to get one out. Now, the last video seemed to be a hit. Might be a stretch, but for me it was a hit. You guys seem to enjoy that longer kind of style to it all, or just the longer, less edited, more just gameplay process, so we'll do that again today. And I guess I'll just sit and chat to you about consistency in a way. Across many different aspects, it sort of fits through everybody's life one way or another, I guess. When it comes to learning a new skill or trying to better your life, or even just gameplay in general, if you want to be, you know, really strip it back and just be nothing else, talk about games, consistency. Things won't happen unless you're consistent. It helps you learn the different machinery, especially in this game. It helps you learn how the game works and the mechanics. And as with everything else in life, the more you do something, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the potentially more fun you have, or the more streamlined your processes become. And it all comes through consistency, and consistency builds habits, and habits usually, as long as they're in the right area, are good things, right? You see this a lot with studying. If you're trying to learn something new, I think you can fall into a sort of a mindset where you feel that you shouldn't necessarily need to take so long to be not necessarily good at something, but to get the grasp of something. It's something that I have found as I've got older, is potentially rushing to try and understand something, to try and basically learn something, if you like. And as you get older, I suppose you feel that sometimes time is against you in some respects, and therefore you want to be able to learn everything yesterday. And it can get frustrating when you spend what feels like a long time on something and it just doesn't seem to sink in. I think that is when the decision comes and that can make the difference for an individual. Like consistency would say, just keep trying at it, keep going at it, and eventually, just because of the way that the world works, something's going to stick. You're going to remember something or learn something. But most people, I think, because we start to go into this world where everything's sort of almost immediate access, or you know, everything's on an app, it's a click of a button away, and again, you have that near instantaneous access to stuff. It's a bit of a battle between, well, I've tried to apply myself, I don't seem to be getting the hang of it, so this isn't for me, I might as well just stop. It's something that I definitely myself face a lot. And I'm trying to be a little bit more patient with myself, and be a little bit more switched on in understanding that, you know, things take time to learn, things take time to do. And that's what I like about this game. I circle back around to this quite a lot with this game, in that you can't just blitz through it, you can't just rush through it. Like, I've been digging this hillside for 3-4 episodes now, and we're still here, we're still doing it. It is slowly coming down, and we are earning back some money. If you notice, I'm halfway through level 9. I think we left it on level 7 maybe. So through consistency and just chipping away at this hill, our level is going up, our money is going up. I have paid off a little bit more of the loan that we retook out, and it's starting to bring that loan down again. But it's consistency, something that we find is sometimes a struggle, unless it's something that we really, really get to grips with, or something that's really positive in our life. It's almost easier to put something down as a sort of a, what would you call it? Not a loss, but where you admit defeat and you just sort of say, okay, well, that area or that specific thing, or that isn't for me. But if we'd have remained at it, if we'd have stuck at it and took the time, it's that whole 10,000 hours argument, isn't it? Where if you spend 10,000 hours on something, one particular thing, you're eventually going to get really good at it. The argument is the same for pretty much everything, and it applies massively to this game. I think this game more than any other game that I've ever played, because it forces you to take your time with stuff. You can't rush in here. I can't right now go and buy some of the biggest machinery because I haven't built up to that level. You have to take your time to go through the processes and learn the new things, get that XP level up, get the money up. Kind of just like life. But it also means that once you've learned so much, it's not where it ends. There's nothing that stops you progressing that learning. There's nothing that stops you keep moving forward and forward and forward other than our own self. We get to a point where we're content and we think, right, that'll do, enough is enough. And then we just stop. I don't know if, as kind of people, humans, whatever you want to call us, I don't know if we're actually supposed to just stop. I find it very tricky that we are one of the only mammals on this little ball of water and dirt that has this ability to learn and learn and learn, and then, you know, we just stop once we're content with stuff. Everything else is trying to learn to survive and battle itself in survival out there, and we have a choice on how much we can expand our knowledge on literally everything. And that doesn't mean that you have to, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that you have to learn everything there is to learn, and there's nothing wrong with learning the required stuff that you need to get through in life and be content in that. I think each individual is very different. I do think that we kind of sometimes forget about the whole consistency thing, especially as you grow older. Like, it makes more sense as a kid. That's why you get homework. And I saw a very interesting argument for homework the other day, and it was somebody saying, my kids are not going to do homework because why should they come home and do something that you as a teacher failed to do? It's a very interesting argument. Teacher failed to teach the children, therefore the children got homework. But then if you think about it, how do you learn stuff? You learn stuff by repetition. You learn stuff by going over and doing it and doing it and doing it. It's the consistent habit of focusing the mind on one particular subject so that you learn it. So if we went to school and we only did so many hours a day, and I know what it was like in my schooling years, you'd only pick up maybe an hour a day on a particular subject. In a week, you've only done 5 hours on that subject. When you start getting homework, it starts to increase the amount of hours that you spend on that subject. And I get it, it's frustrating. Nobody likes homework. Nobody wants to do extra schoolwork outside of school. But it is actually helping us understand and learn stuff. So the argument of the teachers failed to teach doesn't really work in the respect of, if you look at anything through life that you've learned, if you just stopped because, you know, you'd done your hour for the day, for example, so you're not going to learn anything else, would you be in the position that you are? Like, even on the job training, if you go to do a job as an apprentice, for example, your job is literally to learn the entire time you're at work. You're going to be hopefully doing stuff. You're going to be observing people. You're going to be learning everything that they do or in and around the job, and that's going to make you better. Now, you wouldn't sign up to somewhere for an apprenticeship and turn up for work and go like, okay, but I'm only going to learn for 1 hour today and 1 hour tomorrow, rather than the, 8-10 hours that you actually spend on the job learning for 2-3 years. You're just going to do an hour a day. How's that going to work out? It's going to take your learning process so much longer, to the point where you're probably not really going to feel like you're learning anything at all. I know what it was like for me when I was an electrician. It was really tough, in all fairness. The bad thing is that my place of work didn't actually have much work either, so trying to learn stuff was really tricky. My learning was all from books, and I needed to be on site, I needed to see what was happening, I needed to learn physically what was going on, and my learning there was very limited. Now, I learned very well out of a book, enough to pass the exam, but when it came to sitting on site after I was fully qualified, I'm there with my work colleagues and they're like, okay, you need to do this. I have no idea what I'm doing. What I learned in a book to pass the exam wasn't anything that they're telling me here. Like, it's my first time to get the hands-on experience with it, and you don't know what you're doing because you've not done it before. It's that importance of having the exposure to the thing that you're trying to learn a lot, so that you can soak it up as much as you can. It's an experience thing, isn't it? You surround yourself with experience, and experience guides you into what to do next time when you face something, or how to tackle a particular thing. Without that experience, you only know one way, and that is the way that you can think of that you hope is the right way. And it's through experience and learning that we know if it is the right way, or if there is a better way to do things. That comes down to the consistent habit. The nicest thing about an apprenticeship is there's a lot of old guys who have done the job for 40 years kind of thing. They've been through it all. So you can be faced with a problem and you think, okay, I've never dealt with this problem before, I'm going to tackle it like this. And they can turn around and they can already see what problems you're going to face because they have the experience. And what I really appreciated with the guys that I worked with, they'd have a discussion with you. They'd ask you sort of how you're going to do this, and you talk to them and you tell them, and they will tell you 1,000,001 ways why that's not such a good idea. And it gets to a point sometimes where you can almost say to them, well, I don't know, I want to try this way, and I want to see what it comes out like. And I feel, very individually, I feel that it is important sometimes to make mistakes. As long as those mistakes aren't ridiculously costly, I think it is important to make mistakes because it's a great way to learn. If you don't make mistakes, you're never really going to learn. I believe that you learn more from a mistake than necessarily getting it right first time. So sometimes those guys will sit there and go, well, I can tell you what's going to go wrong, but if you want to do it that way, you try it that way. And lo and behold, you try it that way and it goes wrong. And they were smart enough and nice enough not to sit there and say, I told you so. They let you learn the lesson, and then they said, kind of look, this is the way that we've learned to do it over the years. And they say that there's a couple of ways to learn. One of them is through your own experience, and one of them is through the experience of others. And when you learn off the experience of others, it's like a fast track in a way. The whole idea of learning from others is that they've already made the mistakes. They've already found the lesson. So they're going in straight at the top and going, okay, so this is what I've learned from my experience. If you try and do it this way, all these things go wrong. And in the end, if you do it this way, you hopefully will be better off and get it right first time. Now, getting it right first time, contrary to what I've just said about making mistakes and learning, getting it right first time sometimes, in some lines of work, is very important. If you're doing things with cable, for example, when you're an electrician, if you go and cut a cable and you cut that thing too short, very rare that you'll have a second chance. Mainly because you just ran that cable in and it's going to go halfway around a building and it's now buried deep in the walls. Your second chance is now you've got to strip that cable out completely and put a new one in, which is going to be really costly to your employer and to your own self, and it's something that you'd really want to avoid. As with most things, consistency in learning is high priority. Even if it doesn't seem like it's learning anything huge, I do genuinely believe we should keep our mind activated. I am fortunate enough / unfortunate enough be surrounded by the same people all my life. My neighbours are the same. I've seen those guys age over the years. And I must admit, they've all had very good jobs. But since retiring, you can see the ones who basically took retirement and almost stopped, versus those who had retirement but kept their mind activated, kept them thinking about stuff, kept them going. And unfortunately, as you get into older age, you can see what happens to the mind when it has nothing to really think about. It just kind of slowly starts to give up, I think. And it's quite sad. Like I say, these guys they've been the same people for my entire life, and you watch them grow and you see them as youngsters, if youngsters is the right word, but you know what, young adults, and you see them growing into sort of grandparents to great grandparents, and then how they just are no longer the neighbours that they once were, you know, when people don't really recognise you or they don't remember what you spoke to about the day before. And it's to do with that consistency of feeding the mind and feeding the brain. It doesn't even have to be a consistent learning thing, but I do feel from my experiences and what I've noticed is you do need something to really test the mind. Anyway, that's enough of me just waffling on about stuff. In doing so though, we have managed to rack up quite a bit of money. So I'm going to go pay this off because that is a huge chunk of cash that is going to make the loan look real pretty. Just get this bucket tipped in here. If we go up to the bank, look at that, we can deposit 100k. Oh, we can deposit 40 more. That brings us down to a total debt of 80,000. That is nice. Bear in mind that was a 400 and something thousand debt at one point. So we've done really well here. We've got quite lucky with the coal, which is what we were actually aiming for. So that is pretty good. And I've also got the wash plant set up. Showed that hopefully last time. We've got the wash plant up there in that weird little V. So as we're going into this hill, just naturally it's a little bit deeper. We're getting pay dirt. We're running the pay dirt through the wash, getting any extra ore out of it, which is helping us increase the money fantastically. Now the only problem that I did have was obviously I want to bring this down to be all the same level, but I'm actually lower here than I am over the other side of this green, so dozing that across and leveling it out isn't really going to work too well. But we can hop in here, pick her up to good and give it a good old shovel across. Try and keep things, you know, as leveled out as we can get, I think is the best thing. I'm going to try and get this hillside eaten away. You can see I've gone up there a little bit before, kind of dug into it a little bit, trying to just basically flatten this off so that when I came with the front end loader in from the front side, how we have been doing today, I wouldn't go too far deep into the hill. Don't want to just dig this entire thing out. I want to get the coal out of it and then look at how we're going to get a road down. It's still something I haven't really got much of an idea on. Not too sure how we're going to get a road down to the side of the cliff. We've got plenty of dirt here, but I don't know. I suppose at the moment it would be an ideal thing to do to get some dirt. It is something that is a possibility at least. And maybe we can send that back down the hill and start throwing it around down there and finding some way to go down the slope. That's the thing. The trick is just finding some way. I'm not entirely sure on what that some way is. I will say that around here it starts to shallow out. It doesn't seem as steep around here. So potentially we will have to aim for that. But we can come out here, really. We can smash the dozer through where we are. Just like smash it straight that way. dig that way towards sort of that big tree. Flatten out this a little bit and push it around, but the big problem is how much earth we're going to move, how much space it's got to fill up. So what I'm saying is, if I just go sort of straight here, sort of where we want the road to be, but obviously the left hand side goes down the hill, the right hand side is uphill. In order to level enough of a road on that left side, there's a lot of dirt that needs to be used. Tricky one, really. I wonder if we should be getting some blocks to stop all the dirt from going down the hill and do it that way. That kind of piles up against the blocks. Although if we go far enough into the side of the hill, we will eventually just be able to scrape it, scrape the sides. I don't know, we'll get this. It'll work. It'll work eventually anyway. It's slowly piling up down there. It's not like it's rolling miles away. So we might get away with it. I think this might be easier to do with the next update coming in. I think there's more changes and tweaks to the dirt, because I am trying to bulldoze sort of uphill, which is always advised not to do. You get a better bulldoze if you're pushing dirt downhill, whereas I'm at the minute trying to push this little mound up, even though I'm just trying to burst through it, if you like, shove it around and down. It is seen as going up. There we go. Maybe. Maybe. But you get the idea. Would be nice if the blade had cut into the side though. It just doesn't seem to want to do it. It's going to be a little bit crazy on the hillside for machinery. Quite close to the edge. I want to nibble into here a little bit, but I just can't seem to get any purchase. Just bite into that a little bit more, so I could just kind of widen it up a bit. That'd be nicer. At the moment, we'll just make do with what we've got. It's going in the right direction. It is going in the right direction. Yeah, we just can't seem to break through that side of that right hand side of that hill. Oh, we're gonna fall. It's the last thing that I want to do. There we go. Safety first. Might need to get the front end loader and just to nibble this down. Really doesn't want to do anything with the dozer at all. Have to see where we end up there. So careful not to go off the edge. Okay. I think we've got a little bit of cash. I think we'd probably benefit from putting some blocks down here. Get 30. So we want to come across at this kind of place here, don't we? Take that one out. Yeah, so that should be where we're heading. Just going to scooch around that tree. Now, in theory, if I put these underneath, any dirt will pile up against this. Will form the road, won't it, right? That's my understanding, at least. See if we can. Give it a go. Yeah, so that tucks itself up against those wooden blocks nice enough. Just tease away in the side of the hill. So these things don't like to go backwards for some reason. They seem to end up turned without really turning. There we go. That's better. Start to eat higher up, widens it out nicely. That's what we're looking for. Try again. Tilt the corner of that blade down just to try and almost level it out. It doesn't seem to want to work how I'm expecting it to work, but we stick at it, we do that whole consistency thing, we'll eventually get a sort of road that we're after. It's not too bad, the majority of it is actually pretty good. We could level this off a little bit. Well, there we go. Come on, get out the trees. There we go. It's sort of flat. The understanding of what we're trying to achieve is there at least, so that's good. I mean, I know it doesn't go downhill, which is probably how we should have looked at it. But if I can get across to that little bit of ore, we can work out what we're doing over there. Or maybe here, where we are actually. Where we are might be a good spot to maybe make this a corner and bring it down a little bit. I don't really know. Don't really know. So, where's the conveyors? Conveyors are running that way. Because if I start to eat into this, I'm going to want to eat into this from the top down, aren't I? So, unless I dig in from the bottom and blast it. Dig in from the bottom and blast it. The bottom's here. But it does... Oops, stuck in the trees. Oh, I'm probably stuck in the trees. But because it goes up at a strange angle... Decisions. Decisions. But for now, I'm just going to carry on getting this out. Now that I've got a bit of a path sketched out, shall we say. Let's just jump into this, get a little bit more coal moved. I was having a look at the front end loaders as well. So my understanding was level 10 was going to be the next biggest loader. And then we had level 23, which would have took us to sort of the last of the little loaders to be the biggest little loader. That makes sense. But I had a look at the buckets. Once we get to level 10 is an 8-ton bucket. We're currently running a 6.5. But that loader at level 10 is the same size bucket as the loader at level 23. Which then got me thinking, as always, do we actually want to get the 510 if the 501s allegedly are 8 tons the same versus 8 tons the same? It's got the same engine power and everything else, so you know, maybe just maybe there's no real reason why we need to go launching for the level 23. Once we got to level 10, that is it up until these guys, which are 30s. But at the current moment in time, these front end loaders are a little bit sketchy for the dirt, so yeah. Even though we've nearly paid off the loan, do we go and spend it again once we get that level 10? It worked last time, didn't it? When we upgraded to this loader. It did work. I did say I wanted to use these loaders until they pay off their debt, and this guy is, I think he's 80 grand, isn't he? He's 80,000 away from paying off his debt. So maybe we look at getting the new loader at level 10 and then not particularly worrying about it until we need to. What I've done there is just snooking myself as well, because I'm digging right next to that road that we've just kind of squished out. It wasn't very sensible, was it? I think there'll be enough coal here, for sure, to get us in the direction that we want to go. And if there's not enough coal, there should be enough pay. Like, we're into some pay dirt now, so it's going to have some sort of ores in it. It doesn't even have to be ridiculous ores. Just something that's not dirt would be enough. There we go. Level 10. So, yeah, let's not waste any time. It's another 600 and... what was it? 672 now. Yeah, 672 is the cheapest because these guys are 6.5 tons. So let's go burn through it again. Woo. Let's go to the store. Let's go buy it. 8 tons. Crumbs. Crumbs, crumbs, crumbs. Really? That doesn't look as big as that. Oh, it is. It ever so slightly is. It's okay. Is it? Oh, maybe it's not. I mean, the truck's bigger, for sure. It is a deeper bucket. Okay. Not too bad. Right, let's go sell this. Then to garage. I had to double check, make sure I was getting the right one. Sell it. Oh, we're in negative numbers as well. Good job to sell it. Deposit back to 430,000 to pay back. I mean, this doesn't look much bigger. It should only be 1.5 tons though, so it's got a little bit more depth to the bucket. Hopefully that's where the extra 1.5 tons is. Start with a good old scoop of coal. That's a good place to start. I can't back up. There we go. Got a little bit stuck on something. Oh, it seems to hold it in the bucket a lot better as well. Says just as it all falls out. Is it noticeably different? I don't think so, but I'm trusting the game. This worked last time. We moved up to a different size bucket. I'm going to trust it this time. I'm going to do the same thing. While we've got all this coal to go at, it makes a lot of sense. Get those big paydays while we can. Hopefully we're nearly at the back of the coal though, which is good because it means we don't have to dig any further into the hill, but it's bad because we've just spent a lot of money. We could really do with earning all that back, but it's okay. It is what it is, as they say. Might have to go up the side or up the top somehow just to scoop all this stuff down, because I'm not going to be able to reach. Maybe I will. Maybe I will. I was going to say I'm not going to be able to reach too well to get to the coal at the top, or just to get to the dirt and stuff at the top, but it seems if we ram it high enough, the bucket does lift us up a little bit, so it does nibble away at the top. Maybe not the correct way of doing it, but if the end goal is to get the stuff down, then that was a success in my eyes. What we could do, we could probably push it with the dozer, go up the sides and pull it down that way. Or really, we could get an excavator and pull it down that way. Buy even more equipment. I must admit that having the level lock on stuff, and of course selling the equipment for a different price than what you pay for it now, is a good thing. It's been very good to keep me on track, stop me constantly switching between excavator and front end loader and making a mistake and coming back round and going over and over and over and over it so many times. It's been a different way of playing through this game on this new map compared to all my old playthroughs. It sort of focuses you a bit better, this one. As well as it feels that there's a bit more purpose to it. In a way, I mean, I know it's only a subtle difference of having that coal power plant now, but that automatically sells stuff, so we don't have to keep going backwards to storage to sell the stuff in the storage, but then decide what you want to buy. It's like your money is pretty obviously now where it is because it's auto selling. It's an interesting quality of life change that for some reason makes a huge difference. it adds that little bit of extra purpose to stuff now. Like you're digging for a reason rather than just digging to dig now. The end result is still the same. Don't get me wrong. It's still basically going into a storage box that just automatically sells it, but it just feels like it's very gamified now, if that makes sense. It's like I'm digging for that thing to have resources. I'm digging to keep making that number go up. It's not just sitting in a storage box. I will probably change my mind on that in a few episodes' time, and it's just like, okay, I'm still digging and still digging, but we just don't know what the updates are going to bring, and we are due an update hopefully this weekend, so that's like the 22nd of September. But they've always said, and I find it very true what the devs say, as soon as you start putting dates on everything, the universe goes out of its way to try and make it impossible to hit that date. So I appreciate that, although they've said that that's when they're aiming for, I appreciate that things can change and things can move, and it's not always set in stone. You just have to be a little bit flexible with those sort of things, and I don't mind that whatsoever. I'm just really happy that it is a game that they are still updating and they are working on it actively, and they're talking to the community. I know a lot of people seem to be really almost upset or angry that they have put in a suggestion and that suggestion hasn't made it into the game yet. But the developers themselves will have their own ideas on things that they want to work on. And suggestions, unless they're going to be in line with the things that they're working on, those suggestions are going to be just that. They're going to be suggestions for as and when they can fit them into their development schedule, I guess. But you see it sometimes in the Discord that people are getting really... I don't know how to explain it, but they're getting really, really wound up with a suggestion that they said literally nearly 6 months ago, and the frustration that comes through that it's not in the game yet. And it's I don't know, it's an interesting side to the development of a game that I've never seen before. I've always been a player, but I've never been like in the community in that respect, where the developer is actively speaking to people in a Discord and in a way that you can see everybody's suggestions are there for everybody to see, and the developers respond or don't respond, or, you know, it's an open forum really. And as somebody who's played a lot of games over a lot of years, it's a very interesting thing to almost like a fly on the wall to what feels should be off topic to the public, if you like. It feels like a game should be developed behind closed doors, almost for this very reason. Once you start asking your players what do you want in the game, everybody wants something different. And in the joys of everybody being individual is just that. What one person wants, another person doesn't necessarily want, and it causes all sorts of chaos between, well, that person had that suggestion put in the game and I didn't get my suggestion put in the game. It's all sorts of carnage. But alas, we move, and we're shoveling and we're digging, and I'm just happy playing, for sure. Obviously, as with most, there are things that we would like to change or tweaks that we would like to make, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned those over the time that I've played. But I still play the game because it's somebody else's dream, you know. As I say, for me, games have just been that. Something that somebody makes because it's something that they want to make, and you play it to their rules. Once you start making suggestions and changing what they're making, I kind of feel that you should maybe look at going into making your own game instead of trying to make somebody else's game the way that you want it. You play their game the way that they want it. Some games you can get away with, I'd say, breaking things, but playing it how it's not intentionally designed to be played, still having fun with it. Other games just simply don't allow that kind of thing, and it has a very linear track on how to play the game, and you play it what you have access to. It's interesting. A lot of life has changed over the years. Nowadays, at least you can save the game. Remember the good old days when every time you closed the game down, you'd have to start again the next time you booted it up. Imagine that in this game. Imagine spending a day's worth of digging or something here and, you know, get it all setting up looking really cool, and then you have to go and close it down, and the next day you open it up, start back at square one again. It's crazy, but it's how it used to be. Rightio then, folks, I think I've bored you enough of this one. You know what the intentions are here. We're heading in the right direction. This coal is getting a little bit deeper than I expected, which is nice, because we are a lot of money in debt, so we're going to pay a little bit of that off now, actually, while we can, while I remember. I mean, straight away to bring it back down to 300,000. That's rather nice. I quite enjoy that. That's good. So hopefully I'm just going to keep chipping away at this little by little. Maybe when we return, the coal will all be gone and this hillside will be somewhat dug out. And maybe it won't be. I can't promise you anything. But honestly, thank you very much for watching. Hope to see you again next time. You take it easy out there. Bye for now. Bye, everybody.